There are some words you don't say to the world. You save them for one person, for the woman who hasn't entered your life yet, but somehow already has a place in your heart. The woman who will one day sit beside you and understand that love was never about finding someone perfect. It was about finding someone who makes the imperfect parts of life feel worth living. So, my future wife, if you are listening to this someday, I want you to know something. I may not know your name yet. I may not know where you are, what you're doing, or what your life looks like right now. But I believe that when two people are meant to meet, life has a quiet way of bringing them together. And when that moment comes, I don't want to promise you a perfect life. I want to promise you something more real. I'll be there on the ordinary days, when things are difficult, when we disagree, when life feels uncertain, when neither of us has the right words. I want to be the person you can come home to without pretending, because love, to me, isn't about saying beautiful things when everything is easy. It's about staying when things become difficult. And if you are truly the woman I'm meant to build a life with, then there is one message I want you to remember above everything else. You were never just someone I was waiting to meet. You were someone I was preparing my heart to recognize. Ast- Asterisk, my future wife, there is something I want to tell you before we ever meet, before I know your voice, before I know the way you smile when you are trying not to laugh, before I know the little things that make you happy, the things that make you nervous, the dreams you keep hidden from everyone else, and the memories that shape the person you are becoming. I don't know where you are right now. Maybe you're living a life completely separate from mine. Maybe you're waking up somewhere far away, making plans for a future you cannot yet see. Maybe you're working towards something you deeply care about. Maybe you're healing from something you never talk about. Maybe you're wondering whether real love still exists. And maybe, just like me, you have no idea that somewhere ahead of you, another person is quietly preparing for the day your paths finally cross. I don't know when we'll meet. I don't know what circumstances will bring us together. I don't know whether it will happen in some dramatic moment that feels like it belongs in a movie, or whether it will be something simple. Maybe we'll meet on an ordinary day. Maybe there won't be music. Maybe there won't be some perfect sign from the universe. Maybe it will just be two people standing in the same place at the same time, having no idea that their lives are about to change. And somehow, years later, we'll look back and realize that the moment we almost didn't notice was the beginning of everything. That's what makes life strange. We spend so much time trying to understand where we're going, and sometimes the most important moments arrive quietly. So if you're somewhere out there right now, living your life, I hope you're taking care of yourself. I hope you're learning who you are. I hope you're discovering what matters to you. I hope you're becoming stronger, not because life has been easy, but because you've learned how to continue when it wasn't. And I hope you never feel like you have to become someone else just to be loved, because when I finally meet you, I don't want to meet a version of you that was created to impress me. I want to meet you, the real you, the person behind the smile, the person behind the confidence, the person who sometimes doubts herself, the person who has dreams that may seem too big, the person who has fears she doesn't always know how to explain, the person who sometimes needs silence instead of advice, the person who wants to be understood without having to explain every feeling. I want to know that person, and I want you to know that you won't have to perform for me. You won't have to be perfect. You won't have to wake up every morning pretending that everything is okay. You won't have to hide the days when you're tired. You won't have to apologize for needing time. You won't have to pretend you're strong every second of your life. There will be days when I need you. There will be days when you need me. And maybe there will be days when neither of us knows what to say. That's okay. I think one of the most beautiful things two people can learn is that silence doesn't always mean distance. Sometimes silence means comfort. Sometimes sitting beside someone without saying anything can be more meaningful than 1,000 beautiful words. I want that kind of relationship with you, a relationship where we don't have to constantly prove our love, where we don't need an audience, where we don't measure our happiness by what other people see, where the most important moments belong only to us. Because there are some things I want to keep between you and me, the small conversations before we fall asleep, the jokes nobody else understands, the quiet mornings, the difficult conversations, the unexpected laughter. The moments when one of us reaches for the other's hand without even thinking about it. the look across a crowded room that says everything without a word. Those moments may never become memories that anyone else knows about, and that's exactly what will make them precious. I don't want to love you only when life is beautiful. Anyone can celebrate love when everything is going perfectly. I want to learn what love means when life becomes complicated, when plans change, when money is tight, when someone gets sick, when we're exhausted, when we misunderstand each other, when one of us says something the other didn't expect, when the future suddenly becomes uncertain. Those are the moments that will tell us what we've really built. And I hope that when those moments come, we don't immediately think about leaving. I hope we think about listening. I hope we remember why we chose each other. I hope we can disagree without becoming enemies. I hope we can be honest without becoming cruel. I hope we can apologize without keeping score. I hope we can forgive without using old mistakes as weapons. Because I don't want a relationship where one person wins and the other loses. I want a relationship where both people protect what they have built together. I want to be your partner, not your owner, not your judge. Not someone who tells you who you're supposed to be, your partner, someone who walks beside you, someone who celebrates your victories without feeling threatened by them, someone who listens to your dreams without trying to make them smaller, someone who can say, I'm proud of you, and mean it completely. And I hope you'll do the same for me. There is something else I want you to understand. I am not waiting for you because I believe another person will complete me. I don't want to place that responsibility on your shoulders. You shouldn't have to complete me, and I shouldn't have to complete you. We should come into each other's lives as two whole human beings, carrying our own stories, our own lessons, our own scars, our own hopes, and then somehow choose to share the road. That's different from needing someone. There is something beautiful about choosing someone when you don't need them to rescue you. You simply want to experience life beside them. I want to build that kind of love, a love that gives us room to grow, a love that doesn't turn freedom into fear, a love that doesn't confuse jealousy with devotion, a love that doesn't demand constant reassurance, a love that says, I trust you. Because trust is one of the quietest forms of love, and maybe one of the most difficult. It means allowing someone to be themselves while believing they will still choose you. It means not trying to control every part of their life. It means understanding that love cannot survive inside a cage. So, my future wife, when we finally find each other, I want you to keep being yourself. Keep your friends, keep your dreams, keep the parts of yourself that existed before me. Keep learning, keep growing, keep becoming, and I'll do the same, because I don't want us to lose ourselves inside our relationship. I want us to become more ourselves because of it. Maybe we'll discover new things about life together. Maybe we'll travel. Maybe we'll build a home. Maybe we'll sit somewhere late at night talking about everything and nothing. Maybe we'll have days where we're laughing so hard that we forget what we were arguing about. Maybe we'll have mornings where neither of us wants to get out of bed. Maybe we'll make mistakes, probably more than a few. And maybe some of our best memories will come from things that didn't go according to plan. That's life. It's not a straight line. It's not a perfectly written story. It's unpredictable. And maybe that's why it's beautiful. Because if everything were guaranteed, perhaps none of it would feel as meaningful. I don't know what our future will look like. I don't know how many years we'll have together. I don't know what challenges will find us. But I know that if I love you, I want to be present. I don't want to spend our entire relationship worrying about the next problem. I want to notice you. I want to notice the way you look at something you're passionate about. I want to remember the stories you tell more than once. I want to know what kind of day you've had. I want to recognize when something is bothering you even when you say you're fine. I want to notice when you're proud of yourself. I want to celebrate the small things. Because someday, when we look back, I don't think we'll remember every expensive gift. We probably won't remember every restaurant. We won't remember every photograph. We'll remember moments, a conversation, a laugh, a long drive, a quiet evening, a hand held during a difficult moment, a hug that came exactly when it was needed. A simple I'm here. Those are the things I want to give you. Presence, not perfection. Presence. I want you to feel that when you're with me, you don't have to wonder whether I'm actually there. I want my attention to be something you can feel. And when life gets loud, I want our relationship to be a place where we can breathe. Not another battlefield, not another performance. A place where two people can put down their defenses for a while. Because the world can be hard enough. Home shouldn't feel like another place where you have to fight to be understood. I want home to be wherever we can be honest. Maybe that home will be a small apartment, maybe a house filled with noise, maybe somewhere completely unexpected. It doesn't matter as much as who is inside it. Because a home isn't really walls. It's the feeling that someone knows you. Someone sees the good and the difficult parts. Someone has watched you change. Someone has witnessed your worst days and still wants to sit beside you. That's the kind of home I hope we create. And when you have a bad day, I don't want to immediately tell you how to fix it. Sometimes you don't need a solution, sometimes you just need someone to sit there. So I'll try to learn the difference. I'll try to listen before I speak. I'll try to understand before I judge. And when I get it wrong, because I will sometimes, I hope you'll tell me. Don't disappear into silence because you're afraid of how I'll react. Talk to me even when the conversation is uncomfortable, especially then. Because I would rather have one difficult conversation with you than spend years pretending everything is fine. I don't expect us to understand each other perfectly. We're going to be different. We may see things differently. We may want different things sometimes. We may have different ways of dealing with stress, different ways of showing love, different ways of processing pain. But maybe love isn't about finding someone identical to you. Maybe it's about learning another person's language, learning what makes them feel safe, learning what hurts them, learning what makes them laugh, learning when to speak, learning when to simply stay. I want to spend my life learning you. Not because you'll be a mystery I need to solve, but because people are never finished stories. You will change. And so will I. The woman I meet will not be exactly the same woman I know 20 years later, and I hope I won't be the same man either. I hope we give each other permission to evolve, to change our minds, to discover new dreams, to become wiser, to become softer where life made us hard, to become stronger where we once felt weak. And through all those changes, I hope we keep choosing each other, not because we are afraid to start over, but because we genuinely want to continue. That's the message I've been saving for you. Not a promise that nothing will ever hurt, not a promise that we'll never argue, not a promise that every year will be easy. I can't promise those things. Nobody can, but I can tell you what I hope for. I hope that when the world becomes uncertain, we remember that we're on the same side. I hope that when one of us falls, the other reaches down. I hope that when one of us succeeds, the other celebrates. I hope that when we're old enough to look back on everything, we don't wish we had spent more time worrying. I hope we were present. I hope we laughed. I hope we loved deeply. I hope we forgave quickly. I hope we said the things that mattered while we still had the chance. And most of all, I hope you never doubt that your presence in my life mattered. Because if we ever reach that point, if you really become my wife, I don't want you to think of yourself as someone who simply joined my life. I want you to know that we created a new life together, something neither of us could have created alone. Two histories becoming one future, two strangers becoming familiar, two people choosing again and again to walk through an uncertain world together. And maybe that's what love really is. Not knowing exactly where the road leads, but deciding that the person beside you makes the journey worth taking. So wherever you are right now, keep living, keep growing, keep becoming the woman you're meant to be. Don't rush toward me, I won't rush towards you. We'll meet when we meet, and until then, I'll keep becoming the kind of man who can recognize something real when it finally arrives. Because when that day comes, I don't want to be looking for perfection, I want to be looking for truth. And if I find it in your eyes, if I hear it in your voice, if I feel it in the quiet moments when neither of us needs to say anything, then maybe I'll understand. Maybe I'll finally realize why all the waiting mattered, why all the wrong turns mattered, why every lesson brought us closer to the people we needed to become. And maybe in that moment I won't need some grand explanation. I'll just look at you, and I'll know that somehow, after everything life asked of us, we finally found our way to the same. I don't promise you a perfect life. I don't think a perfect life exists. And honestly, I don't think I would want one, because perfection sounds beautiful from a distance, but real life is made of imperfect mornings, unexpected problems, difficult decisions, misunderstandings, long nights, uncertain days, and moments when we simply don't know what comes next. So when I think about you, my future wife, I don't imagine some perfect story where everything always goes according to plan. I imagine something real. I imagine us waking up on mornings when neither of us slept enough. I imagine coffee becoming cold because we got distracted talking. I imagine plans changing at the last minute. I imagine us laughing at something that wouldn't make sense to anyone else. I imagine arguments that begin over something small and somehow become conversations about everything we've been carrying inside. I imagine apologies. I imagine forgiveness. I imagine silence. I imagine ordinary days. And somehow, those ordinary days feel more beautiful to me than any fantasy. Because if I'm going to love you, I don't just want the highlight reel, I want the entire story. The beautiful parts, the difficult parts, the boring parts, the uncertain parts, the parts that nobody photographs, the parts that nobody posts, the moments that belong only to us. I don't want to promise you that I'll always know what to say. Sometimes I won't. There may be moments when you're hurting, and I'll struggle to understand exactly what you're feeling. There may be moments when I make the wrong decision. There may be moments when my words come out differently from what I meant. And there may be moments when you look at me and wonder how someone who loves you could possibly have misunderstood you so completely. I hope that in those moments we remember something important. We're human, we're going to make mistakes. Love doesn't erase our imperfections, it gives us a reason to work through them. I don't want you to feel like you have to protect our relationship by pretending nothing is wrong. Tell me when something hurts. Tell me when you're disappointed. Tell me when you feel distant. Tell me when you need more from me. Tell me when I've stopped listening. Tell me when I'm becoming someone you don't recognize. I'd rather hear an uncomfortable truth from you than a comfortable lie, because honesty may hurt for a moment, but dishonesty can create a distance that lasts for years. And I never want distance to grow between us simply because we were too afraid to have a difficult conversation. I want us to be brave enough to talk. Not because talking will solve everything. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes we'll need time. Sometimes we'll need space. Sometimes we'll need to think before we respond. But I want us to come back. It's important to me. Come back to the conversation. Come back to each other. Come back to the reason we chose to build something together. Because walking away from every difficult moment isn't strength. Sometimes strength is staying long enough to understand. Sometimes strength is saying, I was wrong. Sometimes strength is saying, I don't understand you yet, but I want to. And sometimes strength is simply sitting beside someone you love while neither of you knows what to do next. I want to learn that kind of strength with you. Not the kind that looks impressive from the outside. The quiet kind, the kind nobody applauds. The kind that happens when two people choose patience instead of pride. I don't want our relationship to become a competition. I don't want to count who apologized first, who sacrificed more, who gave more, who called first, who was right. Love shouldn't be a scoreboard. If I do something for you, I don't want to keep a record of it. And if you do something for me, I don't want you to feel like you owe me something in return. I want generosity to become natural between us. I want us to give because we care, to help because we can, to support because that's what partners do. There will be times when you'll carry more. And there will be times when I'll carry more. That's okay. Life doesn't divide its weight equally every day. Sometimes one person is stronger, sometimes the other is exhausted. Sometimes one person needs to be held, sometimes the other needs reassurance. And maybe that's one of the reasons we find someone to walk beside us. Not so they can make every burden disappear, but so we don't have to carry every burden alone. I want you to know that you won't always have to be strong around me. If you need to cry, cry. If you're afraid, tell me. If you're confused, tell me. If you don't know what you want yet, that's okay. You don't have to have every answer. Neither do I. We're allowed to be unfinished. We're allowed to still be learning. We're allowed to have days when confidence disappears. We're allowed to change. We're allowed to start again. And if one day you look at yourself and realize you're not the same person you were when we met, I hope you don't become afraid of that. I hope I don't either, because growth can change people. Sometimes it changes their dreams, sometimes their priorities, sometimes their beliefs about what matters. And I want our love to have enough room for growth. I don't want to hold you to an old version of yourself simply because that's the version I first fell in love with. I want to meet you again and again, every year, every season, every new chapter, because the woman you become deserves to be loved too. And I hope the same is true for me. I hope you'll let me change, not become careless, not become dishonest, not become someone who stops caring, but become wiser, more patient, more understanding, more present. I hope you'll challenge me when I need to grow, not by trying to control me, but by reminding me of the person I said I wanted to become, and I promise I'll try to do the same for you, not because either of us is better than the other, but because sometimes the person who loves us can see something in us that we can't see ourselves. Maybe you'll see strength in me when I feel weak. Maybe I'll see courage in you when you're convinced you're afraid. Maybe we'll remind each other that one bad day doesn't define an entire life. One mistake doesn't erase everything good. One difficult season doesn't mean the story is over. I think we need people who can remind us of those things. People who don't judge us by our worst moment. People who don't use our vulnerabilities against us. People who know where we're fragile and choose to be gentle there. That's what I want to be for you. A safe place, not a perfect one, a safe one. A place where you don't have to constantly wonder whether you're enough. Because I don't want you spending our relationship trying to earn love. You shouldn't have to earn the right to be cared for. You shouldn't have to look a certain way every day. You shouldn't have to say the perfect words. You shouldn't have to hide your insecurities. You shouldn't have to compete with some imaginary version of another woman. You shouldn't have to wonder whether someone else is more beautiful, more interesting, more successful, or easier to love. If I choose you, I want my choice to be clear, and I want you to understand something about commitment. Commitment isn't the absence of temptation, it's the presence of a decision. Every relationship will eventually face moments when life offers distractions. People change, circumstances change, feelings can fluctuate, but commitment means remembering what you're building. It means understanding that temporary emotions don't always deserve permanent decisions. It means protecting something valuable. And if I ever become your husband, I want to protect our relationship without making you feel trapped inside it. I want you to feel free, free to speak, free to dream, free to have your own identity, free to disagree, free to tell me when I'm wrong, free to be yourself. Because if love requires you to become smaller, then something has gone wrong. I don't want a smaller version of you. I want the fullest version of you. I want to see what happens when you feel completely supported. I want to see what you build, what you create, what you learn, what you become. And if you succeed at something that once seemed impossible, I hope I'm standing somewhere nearby, smiling because I knew you could do it, not because I made it happen, because you did. Your victories belong to you, and I'll be grateful that I got to witness them. I also hope you'll understand that my failures belong to me. There may be things I try that don't work, plans that collapse, dreams that take longer than expected, moments when I question myself. I don't want to hide those things from you. I want to be able to tell you I don't know what I'm doing and still feel respected. I want you to know that admitting uncertainty doesn't make someone weak. Sometimes it takes more courage to say, I don't know, than to pretend you have every answer. Maybe we'll learn that together. Maybe we'll discover that some of the best parts of life aren't about knowing what happens next. They're about being willing to continue anyway. I don't know where we'll live. I don't know what our home will look like. I don't know what traditions we'll create. I don't know what holidays will become special to us. I don't know which ordinary restaurant will somehow become our place. I don't know which song will remind us of the beginning. I don't know which photograph we'll keep looking at years later, but I want those memories. Not because they will prove that our relationship was perfect, but because they'll prove that we were there, that we lived, that we paid attention, that we didn't let every moment pass without noticing it. I want us to take walks without having a destination. I want us to sit somewhere and watch the sky change. I want us to have conversations that begin with something meaningless and somehow become deeply important. I want to know what you think about when you're quiet. I want to know what makes you laugh when nobody is trying to entertain you. I want to know what kind of memories make you emotional. I want to know what you've always wanted to do, but never had the courage to try. And when you tell me those things, I don't want to immediately turn them into plans. Sometimes I just want to listen, because being known is different from being fixed. Sometimes we don't need someone to solve us. We need someone to see us. And I hope you feel seen by me, not watched. Seen, there's a difference. I want to notice the person underneath everything. The person who existed before our relationship. The person who will continue growing through it. The person who has a history I wasn't there to witness. There will be parts of your past that I don't know, and I won't demand that you erase them. Your past helped create the person I will eventually meet. Some memories may be beautiful, some may be painful, Some may be things you don't want to discuss immediately. I will respect that. You don't owe me every detail of your past simply because we love each other. Trust takes time. I want to earn it. And I want you to know that you can take your time. I don't want to rush intimacy. I want us to build it lobster by layer, conversation by conversation, experience by experience, until one day we look at each other and realize there are fewer things we need to explain, not because we've stopped talking, but because we've learned each other deeply. That's the kind of connection I hope for. Something quiet, something steady, something that doesn't need to constantly announce itself, because some of the strongest things in life are quiet. The sunrise is quiet, the ocean can be quiet. A person holding your hand can be quiet, and still, somehow, those things can change the way you feel about being alive. That's how I imagine love. Not always loud, not always dramatic, sometimes just a hand reaching for yours, sometimes someone waiting for you. Sometimes a simple message asking whether you got home safely, sometimes remembering something you mentioned weeks ago, sometimes making room for you at the table, sometimes knowing that you've had a difficult day and not demanding that you entertain anyone. Those small acts matter. They become the language of a shared life. And I want to learn that language. I want to become fluent in the things that make you feel loved. Not because love should become a performance, but because caring about someone means paying attention, and I want to pay attention to you, to the person you are today, and to the person you will become tomorrow, because I don't want to promise you a perfect life. I want to promise you that I'll keep showing up for the real one, for the mornings when we're tired, for the evenings when we're uncertain, for the days when everything seems to work, for the days when nothing does, for the moments when we laugh, for the moments when we have to breathe and try again, for the seasons when we're growing together, and for the seasons when we have to learn how to find each other again, because maybe that's the most honest promise I can make. Not that nothing will ever change, but that when change comes, I'll try not to run from it. I'll try to understand it. I'll try to understand you. And I'll keep remembering that somewhere beneath every disagreement, every difficult day, every imperfect moment, there are two people who once looked at each other and decided that this life was worth sharing, and I hope I never become so comfortable with having you that I forget to appreciate the fact that you're there.